Coming up next on Access Framingham TV, Israel, with my guest, Traci Lander. Stay tuned. Welcome to Travels with Jack. I'm your host, Jack Barron. We hope you enjoy seeing the world with my guests and me. Why don't you join me? If you would like to be my guest and share with our audience a recent trip, a vacation, a cruise, maybe a day trip right here in New England, we would love to have you talk about your trip. The transportation, the flight, the hotels, the shopping, the great food you enjoyed, the people that you met. Anything you'd like to share with your friends and our viewing audience. Just contact us here at Access Framingham TV and let us know you'd like to be a guest. You can phone AFTV at 508-875-5434, or you can send an email message to info@accessfram.tv. Our associate producer will be in touch with you to make arrangements for you to be on our show here on Access Framingham TV. Today, my guest is Traci Lander. In the spring of 2013, Traci visited Israel. Welcome to Travels with Jack, Traci.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. A little bit of history. You can correct me if I make any mistakes.
Okay.
Lacey currently lives in Medford, Massachusetts. Grew up in lovely Palos Verdes, California, which overlooks the Pacific. Went to Rolling Hills High School. Then went on to UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles, which is in Westwood. And then decided the weather was too nice and she was having too much fun and transferred to Clark University in Worcester.
Correct.
There we go. Wanted that Worcester snow.
Absolutely.
She returned to Worcester to follow in her family's footsteps by attending Clark University, majoring in government and international relations. Lord knows we could use help in that. Then she went back to California, took a year at San Diego Law School, got involved in the insurance industry, and decided to come back to Massachusetts again. We kept dragging her back. She is currently managing a business that helps seniors, meaning older people like me, reorganize our lives as far as our living situation. Our house, our apartment, whatever. She comes in, she says, Jack, we're going to move this here, we're going to get rid of that, we're going to clean up this, you're going to give this away, and she'll help me reschedule my priorities and move to another place.
Exactly.
Usually what, a little smaller?
Yes.
Okay, maybe assisted living, maybe independent residential, maybe a nursing home if I need it, whatever the situation. Formerly married, but currently not married. She took with a family friend, Judy, who runs a travel group with the unique name, the Judy Group. And they went on a trip to Israel along with several folks from the Harvard Long Learning Group.
Lifelong, yep.
Lifelong Learning Group. And Traci is here to share with us some photographs, talk to us about Israel, and start out with, where did you leave from? What airline did you take? Tell me a little bit about the trip.
Sure. We left out of Logan. We took Alitalia.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Flew to Rome and
Yep.
then connected in Rome on to Tel Aviv.
Yep.
So,
Were you in Magnifica class?
No.
I like Alitalia.
It was a long flight, but we left in the afternoon on a Friday and got to Rome in the morning. their time, and then it was only a short flight, about 3 hours from Rome to Israel.
Connection time wasn't bad?
No, not at all.
Had a little espresso there at the airport in Rome?
Very little.
Okay.
Yeah.
Arrived in Tel Aviv.
Arrived in Tel Aviv.
Was this your first trip to Israel?
This was my first trip to Israel.
Okay, give me your initial impressions flying into Tel Aviv airport.
It was a very big city. I was a little surprised, but very much like Boston when on our first descent in. But a very nice city and on the water, so that was very pleasant. The temperature was about, I would say, in the mid 80s when we landed.
So a little warm.
Yeah, a little warm.
Okay.
And the whole trip was actually unseasonably warm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what month was this in?
This was in May.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which you expect pretty good weather.
Yeah, pretty good weather. But
okay.
We were in the hundreds for several days.
So it was hotter than you anticipated.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for them, it was hot too. So.
Yep.
But we stayed at the Dan Hotel.
Yep. Which is part of the chain.
Yes.
In Israel. Yep.
Beautiful hotel.
And you were right on the water.
Right on the water. And just a very lovely area, and looked up at Old Jaffa.
Oh, is that where the Dan is? Are you down near the Jaffa section?
Yeah, you're down and you look up.
Which is a great area.
It is.
It's very, what would you say, 1600s, a lot of the buildings there. It was built by the Turks, a lot of those buildings.
I think
in
so.
Jaffa, yeah. Oh, that's a nice area.
Yep. And,
okay.
And some, biblical significance. The story of Jonah, and you'll see from one of the pictures.
And did the Judy group have a tour leader for you, or a tour guide? How did they work that?
Yes. Licensed by Israel itself is tour guides, and then there was a bus driver as well. And they accompanied us almost everywhere they could go.
Great.
And our guide was a gentleman by the name of Avi Regev, I think his last name was.
Oh, you remember his name.
Yeah, he was ex-military. He actually was career ranger. And so he was very interesting, very knowledgeable, and he accompanied us the whole way.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Bill hopefully has a few pictures he'll share with us, and just when they come up on the screen, tell us a little about them. I may interrupt you. Now this is Tel Aviv.
That's Tel Aviv.
And that is?
The hotel, I believe, actually.
Okay, and that looks like the Jaffa section.
Yes, it's
the old building.
Looking down from the Jaffa section. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, you got a nice clear day.
Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, and so that's the port city of Old Jaffa. That's actually a postcard, but it was a particularly good picture of where we really were.
And you're looking over the Mediterranean. Oh, what is this?
So this is the whale from the story of Jonah.
Oh, okay.
There's a statue right there, and that is as you make the ascent into the city of Old Jaffa.
I never remember seeing. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's just a little bit about the history, that it was a city established by Napoleon. He started a military campaign there. And that is one of 5 clock towers that are throughout Israel. And that one is in Old Jaffa, and was the first one that we saw.
These are great clear photos.
Yeah, some of them were taken with a Luminex camera, and some were taken on an iPad.
Really? An iPad did this sort of photo?
Yeah. Oh, the iPad does fantastic photos. They really do.
These are very clear.
Now, this was the Diaspora Museum,
the
Museum of the Jewish People, and very interesting. Just talked a little bit about, since Israel's become a state, and the backgrounds of the Jewish people that wound up living there. So
people from all over the world.
All over the world, most seeking asylum from religious persecution throughout the world, and now have the state of Israel to call home. And
this is from the museum itself?
This is from the museum itself, and it talks just about that people came from all over, from ghettos and shtetls, and came because they could be free to practice their religion. And from all over Eastern Europe and Spain and Africa, South Africa.
Yes, I think there are a lot of South Africans who've moved to Israel.
And there was a tremendous amount of Ethiopians that came in at a period of time a few years ago. And so they all trace their origins there. This is the Yitzhak Rabin Memorial. It's actually on the site of where he was assassinated. He was a tremendous leader, and
this is in more or less downtown Tel Aviv.
It is downtown Tel Aviv.
Near Rothschild Boulevard, I think, right in that.
I believe that to be correct. And there's an eternal light that is on the site, and it was very.
Oh, that must be it.
Yes, very moving to see that.
And that's a statue?
Yep. To him.
This is a garden. I'm not familiar with this.
This is actually Mount Carmel. So we've now left Tel Aviv and we're headed up towards the Golan Heights, but we stopped at Mount Carmel. There's a place where the prophet Elijah is said to have been kind of working his way through.
This is the same Elijah from Passover?
It is the same Elijah from Passover, yes, yes. And there's actually a convent up there.
Really?
Yeah, like sisters, Carmelite sisters, I believe they are.
Oh, that would make sense, from Mount Carmel. Yeah. Okay.
And that's actually a statue of Elijah. And he's helping to spread the word. This is called the Crusader City. We've now moved to Acre, and it's a Roman city that's built on top of an existing biblical city. You see the plywood. They actually covered the entire thing in dirt when the Romans came in.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And so now they've excavated it. And this
is still part of that city?
This is, and you can see at the top, they actually built a prison on top of what was covered with dirt. The Crusader City is below. They filled it in with dirt, and they built a prison at the top, which is where you can see the line over the arches.
Oh, okay. So now this is Haifa.
This is Haifa. That actually is looking at the Baha'i Gardens.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
It's absolutely spectacular.
I've never really seen this kind of view. I remember being in Haifa, but we were looking below. It was very hilly.
Oh, okay.
And I remember
this is actually the top of the hill.
I've never seen it. And the Baha'i faith, of course, is very popular in Iran. Mm-hmm. But because Iran is less than friendly to groups who are not Shia Muslim, don't send me letters, it's true, a lot of the Baha'i have gone elsewhere, and I do know they have a strong group in Haifa.
Yep.
But those gardens I've never saw from up above. Beautiful. Yeah.
Spectacular.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's just another view.
I think they are considered, one of the most beautiful gardens in the world or something.
I would say. They absolutely, and they're mammoth in size. The picture doesn't really do it justice, but, and I think we were looking from the wall up above, and I believe it's the temple that's at the very end, at the bottom. So you may have been looking from there up.
Wow, that's a spectacular photo.
Just absolutely.
And this is a synagogue, it appears.
Yes, we've now moved to the spiritual city of Safed, or Safed.
Okay.
And this is the city of Kabbalah.
Oh, from the Kabbalah sect of Judaism. That's yes. Madonna.
Yeah, well.
Whenever I think Kabbalah, I think Madonna.
It happens to be after you've studied the books of the Old Testament, and as you progress in your studies, then Kabbalah is actually the highest level, and it's the most mystical, but it's so that city is dedicated
Really?
to,
I didn't know there was a whole city?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
and it's actually a beautiful city, and
A statue of Madonna there or no? No?
but lots of the little red bracelets.
Oh, okay.
The little cord. Yeah.
They don't have Material Girl in Hebrew written there? No?
Probably somewhere there's a lot of pictures. And these are musicians that are in Safed.
From Madonna's group.
Yeah,
This is her
exactly,
background
exactly.
music. Okay.
And the names escape me, but they were playing some world instruments, several very, very interesting instruments. And they, explained a little bit to us. This is actually our group. In the background is our guide, Avi, that
Yep.
I had mentioned. And so they played a little concert for us and welcomed us and explained a little bit about the city to us.
See, this is one thing I think in Israel, if you do go with a group, that's really a plus, is these guides know a lot of places to take you.
Absolutely.
And see things and meet people that you would not normally get to meet or get to see just going on your own.
That's true.
So I really think it can be very much worth your while to go as you did with a group, because you just see so much stuff that you might miss.
And you definitely have access to certain places that
Yes.
you wouldn't otherwise have
Yeah.
access to.
Yep. So now we're in,
Mount of Beatitudes, which,
okay,
is more New Testament oriented,
okay,
and where there were blessings for the people poor in spirit. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Not my area of expertise, but it was a tremendously beautiful.
and where is this? Near Haifa?
It's up towards the
Lebanon?
Golan Heights.
Oh,
Yes.
okay,
Yep,
so
up
you're at-
towards Syria and Lebanon.
Okay.
Towards that corner, and this is actually also in the Golan Heights. It was a stronghold during a military skirmish. That's actually a memorial to some fallen soldiers of the IDF.
Okay.
And then there's also some bunkers that were, real live used bunkers as you walk up there. And there's been some political statements that have been made from this particular area. It's sort of a good photo op, as they say. So this is actually a bunker that was used extensively and now is a peaceful border. So it's not in use any longer. But
Well, for those who are watching this, just this week, there's been a lot of trouble in that area because Syria, with its civil war, and the Hezbollah from Lebanon have come in, and that is the area
yes,
right where you were.
it is.
That is somewhat having quite a bit of trouble. I don't know if you'd be able to go there this week.
Well, even then, there were military planes that were flying over. They're concentrated on each other and kind of not for the moment concentrated on Israel. So
That's for later.
but yes, it was definitely you could feel that there was the tension the further north you went.
The further north.
Yep.
Yeah. Danger mines. Okay.
Yeah, so there's still, unexploded ordnances there because it was such a area of stronghold during some of the skirmishes.
This is a great picture.
This is actually looking out towards the Syria border, not particularly far from the border itself. This is as far north as we went. And so off in the distance, you actually looking towards Syria, and then also to the right is Jordan. And there's a kibbutz in between.
Location.
Yeah. Wouldn't necessarily want to be there, but this is actually a church built over where Mary, Jesus's mother, originally lived. And
Really?
yes.
I've never seen this. It's a beautiful church.
It is a beautiful church. I think there's some pictures of the inside as well. The unusual part is that they built it with a glass floor in places, so you can actually look down to the cave where it is said that she lived. This is actually, I think we're going into Beit Shean, which is an archaeological dig.
I'm so impressed you remember all these names and everything.
Thank goodness it wasn't that long ago. So
no, it's wonderful,
still
Traci.
Fresh.
When I look at pictures, people always say to me, "What was that?" I don't remember, but
there's a few of those in here. But
this looks like Roman.
It is. It is actually. It's called Beit Shean, and it is a Roman city. It's probably the most well preserved. And one of the things that I did learn is that no matter where you go, a Roman city is laid out exactly the same as any other Roman city. So there's a main street, which is the Carta, which is actually what you're looking at here. And then there's amphitheaters that are laid out in certain corners of the city. And so once you start excavating, you actually can tell what you're going to find.
The pizzerias to the left, the gelatos to the right.
Yep, the hairdressers down the street to the left. Exactly. This is actually our boat on the Sea of Galilee.
Okay.
And we took it's a wooden boat, which to me was very impressive because it's so it's in keeping with the historical theme, and so we all went on. We had a private boat. That's actually Judy, or at least the backside of Judy.
Okay.
And we're looking out towards the south, and we're headed south.
And Judy had set all this up for you?
She did.
Wow.
Yep.
Has she done this trip many times?
She's done Israel at least 3 or 4 times at this point.
And so she had a good feeling for it.
Absolutely. And also based on the fact that the group from Harvard and her group was made up of all different religions, we wanted to go to several of the sites.
I think that's a great way to do it, quite honestly.
It made a big impression on me.
Yeah.
So, and when we got off at the end of the Sea of Galilee,
clear, beautiful skies you had. I mean, it might have been hot,
spectacular.
But you didn't have rain, you didn't have windstorms.
So this is a museum that's built around this find of an ancient boat. And there was a whole National Geographic special on them unearthing this boat because it was in the mud and it was so well preserved because it was in the mud. It was 2,000 years old. And the great effort that they went through, they actually filled it with polyurethane to keep it intact and take it out of the mud. And it's tremendously well preserved. It's a fishing boat. And it's still incredibly in shape for being as old as it is. And so they built a museum around it. And they've also dated it based on the wood that it's made out of, the types of woods. They could tell where the parts came from or where the pieces of wood came from, and then also what time period. This actually, I think, may be back to that church.
To Mary?
Yeah, back to Mary in the cave.
Because I remember you said they had a glass floor.
Glass floor. So the church is above and the floor looks down onto the cave, which I thought was really
This looks beautiful also.
This is the Church of the, I want to say the Nativity. It's the Ascension of Mary. It's where she was selected to carry Jesus. And they've built an entire church, and there's murals all around. All countries donated these murals, mosaics and sculptures.
Really?
That's actually the USA's donation to this Church of Mary, and it's their depiction of her. This is actually below the Church of Mary. Which isn't the exact name of it, but this is another place that she's said to have lived. But this is the site of where she was selected to carry the baby Jesus. And that's a statue to her outside.
Is that Judy?
No, actually, that's another Travel Maria.
Okay.
And this is the Jerusalem cross, which is particular to the four corners of the world, so to speak, and Christianity coming together. And so that's a particular type of cross that I thought was very
handsome. I like that. Look at the doors. Wow.
Yes, this is the door to the lower part of that church, and in the door it tells all different tales in the life of Jesus, based on the birth in Bethlehem, and then...
Did you get to Bethlehem on this trip?
We did.
You did? Oh, good.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yep. And this is, him preaching to the people, and then his crucifixion. So this is all... it's actually a bronze into the door, but it was really striking.
Yeah.
This is actually the baptismal site on the Jordan River of Jesus, and there's sort of a lean-to that marks the shoreline, and then you'll see that there's many, many, many folks who make a pilgrimage.
Oh, wow.
And they, come with their own
preacher.
Priest, and,
okay.
And they get baptized here.
So Judy didn't line up a preacher for you for
no.
rebaptism?
There weren't too many people that, and many are from parts of Russia.
I see a lot of Russians traveling. Things must be better in Russia. Yes. Because... plus, I heard today, my wife said to me that Mr. Putin is getting divorced, so maybe he'll be going with his new bride over there with the other Russians.
Maybe. But yes, they did say that the Russian tourism is at an all-time high.
Yeah. So. There's a lot of... Israel has about, I believe, over 1.5 million Russian-speaking citizens.
Oh, that's probably...
And they have a lot of close ties with Russia, so it's...
absolutely.
There's a very close relationship there.
I think it was the 80s they did a lot of airlifts.
Yep.
From taking Jews out of Russia. And this is churches that were built to overlook the site of the baptism. And this is that was in the Jordan River. This is actually, we have moved on to the Israel Museum, and that is a model of
the old
historical old city. And so it was tremendous because the guide could walk us around the model and point out, kind of how things were and how things are now, and could even show us sort of where our hotel was in relation to historically what was supposed to be.
I didn't even get a chance to ask you, how was your hotel in Jerusalem?
In Jerusalem, we actually stayed at the Mount Zion.
Okay.
And that was very nice. It was built into the side of the mountain. And
really?
It was absolutely beautiful.
And the food, I assume you ate a little something.
We did. And the Israeli salads, they do second to none. And so for lunch every day, everywhere we went.
And did the hotel have a breakfast? Very often, I find in the Middle East, all the countries, not just Israel, if you were in Egypt or Qatar or Dubai, whatever, they have a beautiful breakfast with fresh fruits. And
they do.
And they had that the cheeses, yogurt.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they do a nice job with those breakfasts.
It was great. You have to do anything for lunch, actually. Although they say falafel is the official snack of Israel.
But you eat pretty good in Israel.
Yeah.
Of course, I eat everywhere.
Yeah.
This is again the model of Jerusalem.
This is again the model, which is at the Israeli temple. I mean, the Israeli museum. And
this is beautiful.
This is Yad Vashem.
Oh, I never saw it photographed like that.
It's
wow.
The outside from
at night,
and which is the Holocaust Memorial.
Yep.
It's a tremendous museum. And it's, for people that had been there before, it's kind of all new. And
this is the new building versus they had another building previously.
Yep.
Yeah.
This actually is the entrance to the Children's Memorial.
Yes.
And you see the white columns are sort of to represent children sort of cut short in their lives, in different stages of their lives. And as you go into the Children's Memorial.
It's a very moving museum.
It is unbelievably moving. This is from the Garden of the Righteous, which is, there are trees that line this path dedicated to those that assisted in saving the Jews. So they weren't necessarily Jewish, but they helped in their own way.
There were
in their own countries.
thousands of Gentiles who they admire and
Absolutely.
yes,
absolutely.
Who were very helpful to a lot of Jewish people.
And there's names underneath the trees in particular. This is a menorah. The symbol of Israel is the menorah, and so this is the menorah at Yad Vashem. Very creative and good looking. Now we're actually moving into the Palestinian-controlled areas. This is some of the settlements that are settlements of Israelis, but they're within the Palestinian-controlled territory.
Now, do you know what to look for to know how they're Palestinian?
No, I just happen to know. We took one day.
The black water towers.
Oh.
Generally, the Palestinian buildings have those black water towers.
Well, we did see those everywhere, so that's a good identifier.
And I believe, there are well over 1 million Arab people living in Israel who are citizens.
Yes, this is the folks that are not citizens, the ones that are autonomous and have certain areas that they control. There's actually areas called Area A, which is completely Palestinian controlled, Area B, which is sort of a shared, and then Area C, which is where only the Palestinian Israeli citizens can be. This is from the Mount Zion Hotel.
I was going to say that's right near your hotel.
Yep. And there's actually a very cool cable car that was instrumental during the war. There was a infirmary, and they used to have the military stronghold. They would send people down the cable car to the infirmary
How did you feel safety-wise most of this trip?
You know, I felt very safe.
You did?
But also a lot, very aware of my surroundings, and that people were, all these people are kind of sharing a very small space. And so knowing that they didn't all like each other was, to say the least, was very interesting. And nothing more make me more aware than when we went into Ramallah, and we actually met with a high-ranking official of the Palestinian.
Oh, they arranged that for you?
They did.
That's great.
That actually was the only day that our Israeli guide could not come with us.
Oh, they would not let him?
No.
Really?
Jewish Israeli guide. So he was not welcome there. So once we came into the border, then an actual guide from the Palestinian Authority came on board and escorted us around. That included Bethlehem.
I hope Bill's going to move us into some photos. There we go. I was going to ask you if we had pictures of Ramallah.
Well, this is actually still the cable car from Zion.
Okay.
And then that is from the Mount Zion Hotel. There's actually a sanctuary.
Chapel, a sanctuary in the hotel?
Yep, right in the hotel.
Great.
For anyone who wanted.
Welcome to Bethlehem. Look at that.
Yep. So now we moved into Bethlehem, and you actually felt...
Could your guide take you to Bethlehem?
Just the Muslim... He actually was a Christian Arab that took us in to Bethlehem. And that was where you were most acutely aware of the religious differences, because it
might be business too, though. Sometimes, in other words,
that's true.
They say this is a way for us to employ our people. You go back to Israel, our people take over. I have found that certain countries where they say, no, you have to have a guide from our country take you, even though the guide I was with had been there 25 times and knew everything.
This is actually a mosque that looks down on the Church in the Nativity, and so the site of the birth of Jesus. So you kind of felt the tension. You really did.
You did.
Because, everything's in such close proximity. This is the actual entrance, or the usable entrance right now to the Church of the Nativity. And you're going to see this is inside the basilica. I
remember quite a few years ago, there was I guess, a fight in that church with some Palestinians. Wouldn't
Yes, that for 40 days they occupied.
Was there much damage done, or they didn't discuss it with you at all?
There wasn't much. Actually, you will see there's actually some shots in the exterior of bullet holes.
Oh, you do see
yeah,
it. Okay.
Yeah, and that was exactly from that when they were holed up there for 40 days. And this is, again, just the inside of the sort of the path into the altars. And there are several groups that share this small church because they all trace their roots there. But the Greek Orthodox, the Armenians, and they all share, or they don't share, they share the space, but they have their own altars.
Their own, oh really? They each have their own altars?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is mosaics on the floor, the original mosaics that they covered up. Again,
That's what one of the guides once said to me, by the way. They said, you know, look, here we are. This was actually, I think, in the old city, and they had, you know, the Armenian altar, and they had a Greek altar, and they said, look, they haven't gotten along since Jesus. What makes you think all of a sudden they're all going to get along? So I said it was a good point. It says, here we are more than 2,000 years later.
Nothing's changed.
And they're still, all right.
So this is the Greek Orthodox side of things, and there's, they have sort of the biggest... and I believe that's the Armenian altar. So there's, you know, quite a disproportionate amount of space that's given.
Look at all the interesting hanging, lighting, chandeliers and things.
Yep, and the fragrances and things. And this is the third altar. I can't remember which group is which, but that's another altar as well. And then this is the Christian church part that is obviously dominant there. And again, this is all within the Church of the Nativity and all built around
the Star of Bethlehem.
That is the site that marks the birth of Jesus Christ.
All right.
And that's actually down kind of in the belly of this whole
I think
church.
I remember that.
And
I've been to that church. This is tapestries.
This is around. You're actually looking down into the manger where he was born and grew up, and for a couple of years. I don't think a tremendous amount of time. Yeah, that's sort of steps going down.
And did you find there were groups from all over the world?
All over the world,
I know it.
Waiting hours and hours to go and kneel and touch the star.
Yes.
So this is actually one of the saints, and you can see right in the middle of his back is actually a bullet hole from that fighting.
Wow.
From the siege. And then that's all bullet holes across the top. So,
so they showed you everything.
Yeah, they did. They
didn't hide it.
No, they didn't. And they did explain why they were hiding. This is one of my favorite.
Stars and bucks.
Stars and bucks. Yeah, I saw a few Dunkin' donuts as well, signed with, it's spelled differently.
Okay, this is up.
This is towards Jerusalem now. We're coming back from, but you do see there's sort of a border wall that's through the middle of that picture.
Yes, I see it.
And that's actually a physical markation between the Palestinian area and the Jewish Israeli controlled area right there in the city of Jerusalem. So, but this struck me the most was coming up towards Jerusalem and how big a city it is and how populated it is, but also how many people live there that don't get along. So, this is, I believe, the Movenpick, which is
a hotel,
beautiful hotel in Ramallah, and
this is
where
okay.
That's where they arrange for us to hear the speaker from the PLO, Xavier Abu Aid. It was an unbelievable hotel. They said, a lot of movies have been filmed there.
It does. It looks very nice, modern.
Yep, very modern, and they had a tremendous lunch for us. So this is our group waiting. The chair pulled back is waiting for me, but this is our whole group, and we ate, and he spoke with us about the political situation.
Do you remember the gist of his? Oh, there's a memorial to Yasser Arafat.
Yep. So this is the walls that are we're looking from the inside, the Palestinian side, out towards the Israeli side, and so they're
What
all.
was the gist of his speaking? Was it to see these murals and
No,
understand the hardships, or
it was to say that kind of his take on don't believe everything you hear in the news. He also talked a little bit about how happy they are to have John Kerry as the new diplomat in the
really?
hood. They not a big fan of Hillary Clinton, in his words, and also Condoleezza Rice, and certainly we all got the gist of what he was saying, or without saying, which is that the females weren't really welcome as
you
diplomats.
really thought it was more of a sexist thing?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he went on to mention, that he said they don't have the credentials that John Kerry does, and
Really?
the big difference is military
I won't get into
service.
a political discussion
Right.
with you, but I think those women were very knowledgeable, bright women.
Agreed, and so that's kind of our takeaway.
Oh, really? You really felt it was a
Yeah.
male thing?
Yes.
Huh.
And it wasn't a religious thing. So
I remember Hillary gave Yasser Arafat, I think, a big hug and kiss. I would have thought they would have liked her.
well, not in his opinion.
Oh, Oscar Schindler from Schindler's List.
Yep.
This was
Yep.
a memorial. I didn't know there was a memorial to him.
This is actually his gravesite.
Oh.
He's actually buried.
He is buried there?
Yes,
Really?
Yes. And it's a Christian graveyard in right outside of Jerusalem. Not very well kept, unfortunately, but this is just more of that cemetery.
Yet I see a lot of Arabic writing, so a lot of Christian Arabs, you'd say. Okay.
Yes, and not a tremendous number of cemeteries for them.
Well, I don't know, did they get into a discussion with you at all of what's going on, like in Egypt, with the Coptic Christians and how they are being absolutely pushed out?
Well, I was a little bit of a. I actually asked the speaker, who happened to be a Christian Palestinian.
Okay.
And I said to him, aren't you a little nervous that, the Muslims don't like you a whole lot more than they like the Jews? And he said, oh no, they treat us with ultimate of respect, and they love us, and they're our brothers. And
Okay.
so, I couldn't push him any more than that, but I did ask the question because I could, they're such a minority in number that, you can only wonder.
The Christians are under siege throughout the Middle East.
Yes.
Except in Israel.
Yeah.
And this
is our guide, Avi.
Oh, okay.
And that's the menorah that's in front of the Knesset, which is the building of government. And that also tells has some picture, reliefs that tell stories about the history of the state of Israel. It was given by the British government, and that's actually the Knesset right there. And we did go in and take a tour to give, also.
Were you impressed with that? I always thought it was a very nice building.
An unbelievable
Some
building.
beautiful artwork. You saw the
Chagall tapestries. Yeah, it was very impressive, actually. This is the old Jaffa Gate into the old city, where all the marketplaces are, and then also down to the Western Wall as well.
And did you, this is okay. Oh, you got the Israeli Defense Forces having lunch.
Yes. On Sundays, they have what's called their Culture Day.
Okay.
It's almost like a change day at camp where they drop, they have to go back to work. Sunday is the start of their work week. And so they go back to their bases, but before that they spend time seeing museums and things like that. So this happens to be by the Jaffa Gate that they all congregate, and they get picked up eventually to go back to base. This is the Cardo in the old city, and again, amazingly intact for being as old as it is.
Yeah.
And
oh, little kids! I love the little kids.
so now we're into the Jewish quarter, and all the little ones just playing. Sort of, they didn't seem to be aware of any tension. Just another menorah. This is some of the very ultra Orthodox area, and then this is down to the Western Wall, and the Dome of the Rock behind. The gold dome.
Great photo. The Dome of the Rock is a very important, significant Islam.
Yes, and most tourists can no longer go there
Oh, you
unless you
can't?
are Muslim. Yeah, no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had been there maybe 20 years ago.
Well,
So
yep.
you're telling me I was lucky.
You were lucky.
It was a beautiful mosque. I do remember it. And I remember them telling us, I think the King of Jordan was responsible for the maintenance of that mosque. And I could be wrong, but I think the King of Jordan at that time, his father, I believe, was buried up there. Don't quote me.
And again,
Viewers, don't quote me. It's just my thought on it.
Can't get very close anymore.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So this is again a view of the border to get into that area where the Western Wall is.
Yep.
And then beyond that is the Muslim
Now, did
quarter.
you pray at the Western Wall? Did you go to the women's
We
side?
did. Yep. I
Which
went.
there's a big controversy
There's a
going
huge
on right now.
controversy.
In fact, last week or the week before, there were some death threats to rabbis from these women that they're gonna.
The ultra religious Hasidic and
That is the famous Wailing Wall.
Yeah. So this is the men's side. You see the fence that's on the right-hand side is to the women's side. The biggest controversy right now is women wearing the talit.
Well, we're going to send Hillary there. Take down that wall. She'll speak for women's rights. Take down that wall. There you go. She'll be like Reagan was in Germany there, Mr. Gorbachev, except what will it be? Which rabbi will be in charge she'll have to yell at?
I'm not sure. So this is the women's side.
Okay.
They're all praying, but you'll notice that in this particular area, they don't want the women to wear the tallis, and so they're off to the side. But that's the latest controversy has been bringing in lots and lots of women to stand off against the other women. This is my family, my mother and my father.
You didn't tell me your folks went with you.
They were originally scheduled
Look
to go
at
on the
Dad,
trip.
he's got a Red Sox hat on.
Of course, everywhere he goes.
Okay.
I'm actually surprised it's not a Patriots hat. This is the tunnel, which is between the Western Wall, and most of it is now the Muslim community, but they have excavated these tunnels that were there originally, and so you can actually walk underneath and down, and it's a really spiritual feeling to be in the tunnels next to the Western Wall. Outside, they were doing a lot of jackhammering, and that unfortunately ruined the solemn feeling for me there. But inside,
and it was a little
tunnels,
cooler down there.
Yes, it was. It was. So, and so there's our guide talking about where certain things ended and other things began. There's also Roman streets that have been excavated and are still to see. This is the entrance gate to the Temple Mount, which is, there's a marker there. You can't actually still go through the entrance, but that's where it is geographically. And that is the end of a Roman street. So during Roman times, that's where it ended. As it says, end of the street.
Okay, they give you a sign.
And then as you come out of the tunnels, you're actually into the Muslim quarter.
And this, of course, is all in the old city of Jerusalem.
It's all in the old city of Jerusalem.
Which a lot of it, of course, when you were in those caves, so to speak, you saw the actual rocks that were based on the city from thousands and thousands of years ago.
Yes, and some of them were just huge pieces of stone.
I know. I always wondered how they moved them.
They show you that. They different techniques of rollers and things like that.
And this is, the Via Dolorosa.
Via Dolorosa. So when you come out of the tunnels, you are in the Muslim quarter, and then you go right into where the Stations of the Cross are.
Yes, I remember that.
And so this is the Street of Sorrow, that many of the Stations of the Cross that Jesus supposedly walked on and carried the cross up.
This was in his crucifixion.
Yeah.
Yes.
So very significant.
Very significant.
And that round metal depicts what station number you're at, so you can actually walk along and do like a self-guided tour. And then this is the church, the Holy Sepulchre, and again, lots of different variations of Christianity or sects of Christianity share this Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and so things are not well kept in certain, like that's a tremendous door to the church, but everybody says, you know, you don't touch it, it's mine, and you don't touch it, it's mine. So
I found a lot in Israel needed maintenance.
It's old and it's hot, so and this is again in the Holy Sepulchre, and there's actually people are gathered around this the anointment stone, and where they anointed Jesus after. This is actually, I believe, the site of the crucifixion.
Oh, really?
Yep,
Okay.
Yep. And you know, lots and lots of people.
If I didn't know better, I'd think we were at the Louvre, and that was the Sun King and Louis XIV. But
yeah, so that's the anointment stone, and you know, another. This is my friend.
Yep.
Did not get to ride him, but
just as well.
At least got pretty close and took some great pictures, and he didn't charge me. So.
Oh, you went to Masada as well.
Yep. So this is the cable car up to Masada, a very significant mountain.
Yes.
We did not have time to hike up to the top of Masada, and most of the people I was with
100-degree weather, you don't need that, Traci.
No. And most of the people were in their 70s and 80s, so
okay.
They weren't willing to join me. So it's a national park, Masada, so that's the entrance to it. And then most people take the cable car up. Those that aren't afraid of heights, or if you are, you stay, because there's about 80 people to a cable car, so you can stay in the middle and you can't really tell.
Masada, of course, has a wonderful story, as we see these pictures of where the Jews were ready to be taken by the Romans.
Yep.
And they said, we'll die.
Yep.
Yes.
And then Herod built his palace up on top of there once they were gone. And so it's, again, just tremendous, well preserved, and a lot of history from up there. This happens to be a synagogue at the top of Masada from when the Jews were up there, and that looks down on the Roman city. That's what's left of some of the Roman city one. I think there were 5 Roman cities around Masada. Again, top of Masada, and that's a ritual bath. It's a mikvah.
Oh, okay.
That was at the top of Masada. And again, very well intact. This is the ramp down to what was a Roman city, and it's the shortest way down if you're hiking. So you see there were a lot of people that actually chose to go down thinking it was going to be easy.
I just can't get over what great pictures you took. Really.
Thanks. The iPad is really is incredible. So these people thought it was easier to hike down, but it's so steep that it's actually, your legs shake like Jello. Not quite as easy. Those cubby holes in the corners are actually pigeon holes. Where they kept the carrier pigeons that they used to communicate. This is for Roman baths, for the hot baths. They used to light fires in between, and then they built the floor over it so that the pools, the slaves went underneath and lit fires to keep the water warm.
Oh, okay.
Make them original jacuzzis. And this is some of the tiles, original mosaics, also up at Masada.
It's wonderful, all the excavation and the work they've done. Wow.
Yeah. And I think that looks down on the 3, Herod's has 3 platforms.
Yes.
And so that's looking down on that. And again, more.
And you're near the Dead Sea.
Yes, and that's actually where we wound up the end of our trip.
The Sheraton at the Dead Sea.
We actually didn't stay there, but we did go into the water.
There.
Yep.
No, yeah. You got to have lunch.
Covered ourselves in mud.
Oh, the muddy water. Yeah.
And my skin has never felt better than between the salt and that's the Dead Sea. Absolutely spectacular. Blue waters. And so we did spend the day there, and then we headed back to Jerusalem to our hotel, and then the next day we headed out.
That was it? You finished Masada, and then you had to come back to Logan.
Yeah, pretty much. We got home from the Dead Sea to our hotel, and
took a shower. Pat,
12:30.
Come on, Ma. Come on, Dad.
Yep.
We're going to Logan.
12 o'clock out with the suitcases. 1:30 we were on a bus to Tel Aviv and flew out.
Really? They had you out that quick?
That quickly. No.
Judy didn't waste any time.
No. And she doesn't. I mean, you're go every single minute of the day.
Now, did that bother you at all, or you were fine with that?
I loved it.
You did?
Yeah. I would have liked to pack in even more, but there just wasn't time. But
this was fabulous.
It was.
I just
great.
so much am so thrilled you shared this with us.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And tell me what your next trip is going to be.
Well, my next trip is out to California for my high school reunion.
You keep going to Cal. You know, Traci,
Yeah.
you got to take a house out there. I mean, you're
back and forth.
But you're going to your high school reunion.
High school
Good
reunion.
for you.
Yep.
Good for you.
And after that, not sure, but I love to travel, so it'll be somewhere soon.
Well, I hope you'll come back and share another trip with us.
Thank you.
This was I don't know if it'll be as terrific a trip as this, but maybe.
I hope so.
You'll have fun in California. Get a list of restaurants and everything. One thing I will tell you: Los Angeles has a terrific dining scene. Lots of interesting restaurants. Really, my daughter lives out there.
Oh, she does?
Yes. Oh. So whenever we visit, she always lines up. Well, she always gets me for the places she doesn't want to spend for. So, I always get a great array of restaurants.
That's the way it's supposed to be with dads and daughters, right?
Absolutely. I don't say a word. I go, great, let's go. And then they all yell at me for the way I drive. Oh, yes, absolutely. You can't drive.
Well, they have wide roads. And actually, in Israel, they were crazy drivers.
Oh, Israel, they drive a little crazy. But this was terrific. And as I say, please come back again and be our guest again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.